My son called suddenly. My daughter's been seriously injured and is in critical condition. When I got this news while traveling abroad, I immediately returned home after learning about my granddaughter's emergency. But it was too late. I didn't make it in time. My 5-year-old granddaughter had already passed away. A year later, when I visited her grave, I saw a little girl praying there. To my shock, it was my granddaughter who was supposed to be dead. When she saw me, she ran over joyfully. Though I could hardly believe my eyes, I hugged her tightly. Then I learned the horrifying truth I had never known, and the flames of revenge began to burn within me. I'm Margot, 63 years old. My husband has passed away, and I live alone. My son and his wife have 2 children, a 4-year-old girl and a 3-year-old boy. They lived 3 hours away by car from my house. Ed, my son, and his wife Penelope would visit my home several times a year with their children. These were precious, happy moments for me, but something troubled me. It was about my granddaughter, Tara. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was being treated differently from her brother Noah. I noticed this one day when my son and his wife were staying over. Ed and Penelope took only Noah shopping, promising to buy him toys. After they left, Tara looked at me with her sweet eyes and said, "Grandma, I'm hungry." "Oh dear, I'm sorry I didn't notice. I'll make something right away." I grabbed a frying pan and made her pancakes, which she had previously said she loved. When I placed them on a plate with butter and syrup, Tara's face lit up with a bright smile. "Wow! It smells so good. Be careful not to burn yourself." "Yes. Thank you, Grandma." When I cut the pancakes into bite-sized pieces for her, Tara's eyes sparkled as she took big mouthfuls. Watching her made me feel so content. Tara was saying, "They're so fluffy and delicious," while gulping down her milk. Just then, I heard the front door open and heavy footsteps. "Tara, why are you eating by yourself? Give that to Noah. I'll make some for him now, so please don't say that." As I headed to the kitchen, Ed suddenly snatched the pancakes from Tara and fed them to Noah. Seeing this, Tara hung her head with a dejected look. I felt sorry for Tara and again said, "I'll make new ones for Noah," but Ed refused, saying, "That's not necessary. There's no need to take food away while she's still eating. Tara doesn't eat much anyway. Right? You're full, aren't you?" Tara had barely started eating, so there was no way she could be full. I told Ed this, but he completely ignored what I was saying. "Mother-in-law, please don't worry about it. Tara always asks for food even though she hardly eats anything. It's just a waste to give her food." At this moment, I felt something off about Penelope, who was looking at Tara, her own daughter, with cold eyes. Since Tara looked sad, I thought she might be unable to speak up, so I argued with them that can't be true, but they wouldn't listen. Just then, I felt a tug on my apron. Looking down, I saw Tara signaling me with her tiny hand, her expression suggesting she wanted to say something. "I'm going to get some drinks. Tara, would you help me?" She nodded, and when we went to the kitchen together, Tara whispered, "It's okay, this happens all the time. I'm the big sister, so I should give things to Noah." While I was setting out drinks on the table with an uneasy feeling, Tara was earnestly helping me. "Tara, stop lying about being hungry when you're not. Now that you have a little brother, you need to act more like a big sister." My heart ached as I watched Tara apologize dejectedly after being scolded by her parents. As I observed more carefully, I noticed Tara quietly rubbing her stomach. She must have still been hungry. Thinking she wouldn't tell me the truth if I asked her about it right there, I gently took her hand when we were alone. "You can tell me if something's wrong. I won't tell Mom and Dad. They only dote on Noah, and I feel lonely." After Tara let slip her true feelings, I squeezed her hand tightly and softly said, "You can depend on me." Tara smiled happily and hugged me. I couldn't bear to see such a young child suffering like this. As I observed, I noticed that her parents barely spoke to Tara, and she played by herself. In contrast, they absolutely doted on Noah. Feeling this couldn't continue, I sat down with them after the children were asleep to talk. However, they insisted, "That's just in her head. We're raising them equally," and wouldn't budge from their position. "Look, it's only natural that things changed when her brother was born. She's not going to be pampered like a princess anymore." "That's right. Tara's the older sister, so she needs to learn some patience." While their argument had some logic, the fact remained that a small child was being hurt. "I won't forgive you if you keep making Tara suffer like this. Even though I live far away, I'm keeping my eye on you." Though I warned them firmly, they brushed me off, saying, "Don't worry about it. Just enjoy your trip. Don't forget our souvenirs." The next day, they quickly packed up and left after breakfast. I needed to do something about this worry. While thinking about possible solutions, I went ahead with my planned overseas trip with friends. When I mentioned the situation to a friend who was traveling with me, I got an idea that I planned to implement after returning home. On the third day of the trip, while we were eating, I suddenly got a call from Ed. "Tara's been badly injured and is in serious condition." "What? What's her condition? Please tell me everything you know." He said Tara had fallen from jungle gym equipment, hit her head hard, and was covered in blood. She was unconscious and had been taken to the emergency center, where they said her life was in danger. Unable to sit still, I explained the situation to my friends and booked a return flight. Since I couldn't get a flight that day, I took one the next day. During this time, I tried contacting Ed but couldn't reach him, which made me increasingly anxious. When I called my son from the airport to go directly to the hospital where Tara had been taken, he spoke in a strained voice. "I'm sorry I couldn't answer your calls. Tara didn't make it. She passed away shortly after I called you. Her injuries were so severe that we've already held the funeral and buried her." As I was lost for words, my son sent me a photo of a small coffin. "Tara, how did this happen?" After crying quietly in the airport lobby for a while, I said I would come to Ed's house, but he hesitated, saying, "That's not really It was so sudden, and Penelope is really distraught, so could you please give us some space? Understanding that Penelope must be devastated after losing her precious daughter, I sadly trudged back home, respecting their feelings. I placed Tara's photo in the living room. Overwhelmed by the reality that I would never see her again, I couldn't stop my tears. At that time, I noticed something I had ordered had arrived in the mailbox, but thinking there was no use for it now, I carelessly tossed it into my everyday bag. When I called my son sometime later, he told me they had buried Tara's coffin in the same grave as my husband. Why didn't you tell me? Penelope says she really doesn't want to see you. Remember how you suspected her of favoring Noah when you last met? He said she had been unable to recover from the emotional wound ever since. I'm sorry for what I did to her. Please help me make amends. I want to apologize properly. No, just leave us alone. I'm tired of you scrutinizing everything we do. In the end, the conversation remained one-sided, and I wasn't allowed to visit their house. They even asked me not to visit the grave, saying it would be painful to run into you there. Then Ed and Penelope moved away, saying they couldn't bear to live where they lost Tara, and we gradually lost touch. I spent my days crushed by grief and regretting what I had said. A year later, on the anniversary of Tara's death, I decided to visit her grave. I thought I surely wouldn't run into Ed or Penelope if I went in the evening. As I approached the grave with white flowers, I saw a small child kneeling and praying in front of our family grave. Wondering who it could be, I said, "Hello." When the child turned around, I froze in shock. Incredibly, it was Tara, who was supposed to be dead. She saw me and ran over with a joyful smile. Though I could hardly believe my eyes, I instinctively hugged her tight, feeling her warm skin while my mind was in turmoil. "Grandma, were you alive?" Of course I was. When I asked Tara about her strange comment, I discovered an unbelievable truth. Checking the gravestone, Tara's name wasn't engraved there. How dare they pull such a stunt? I'll never forgive them. They'd better be prepared. A rage and desire for revenge began boiling inside me. I remembered something I'd been carrying around and set up a certain device before parting ways with Tara there. I would protect Tara's smile no matter what. 30 minutes later, I visited my son's house where they had supposedly moved. Though I was certain they were inside, there was no response when I rang the doorbell. They were probably pretending not to be home. Unable to wait even a minute longer, I flung open the front door. Ed and Penelope inside jumped in surprise at my appearance. "Don't pretend you're not home. How did you open the front door? It wasn't even locked, was it?" "Tara. Grandma's here, you can come out." "What are you talking about? We told you she's gone." When I called Tara's name loud enough to echo through the house, she came running with her cute little footsteps. I moved quickly to prevent my son from interfering and held Tara tightly in my arms. Watching this, the couple's eyes widened so much they looked like they might pop out, and they seemed unable to speak. I fixed them with a cold stare. I believe Tara was supposed to have passed away a year ago, So why is she here? Ed, realizing he couldn't hide it anymore, made the incredible statement that we pretended Tara had died because it was troublesome having you interfere with how we raised our children. You two are the worst. It's your fault. We were raising Tara well until you started saying we only cared about Noah. That's right. It was so painful being suspected like that. You're really inconsiderate, breaking into someone's house like this. Though the two had been taken aback at first, they gradually began accusing me more strongly. Unwilling to back down, I showed them the photos I had taken at the grave. They showed Tara in tattered clothes, terribly thin, and covered in bruises. She's wearing the same clothes now. Don't you even change her clothes when they get dirty? Tara gets her clothes torn up playing outside. And she doesn't eat much, and those bruises happened when she fell by herself. While bruises on her knees would be understandable, the locations of these bruises were too suspicious to believe. Seeing this was going nowhere, I played certain audio recordings for them. In them, you could hear the couple berating Tara, "You're in the way, Tara. This wouldn't have happened if you hadn't been watching from the window. You make me sick," and making her cry. "This is awful enough, but you even plan to make her disappear. I can hardly believe you're my son, you're both monsters. How did you record our conversation?" They seemed shocked by how clear the audio was. I explained that I had hidden a listening device in Tara's shoulder bag. Moreover, I had asked Tara to deliberately leave the bag in their living room. During my trip with friends a year ago, they had taught me this method. That's why I had ordered the device online so I could implement it as soon as I returned home. However, after hearing the news of Tara's death, I had forgotten about it in my bag. By coincidence, when I came to visit the grave, Tara and her family had come to a nearby park. Initially, they had planned to leave Tara at home while the three of them went for a picnic. However, when they got in the car, a passing neighbor asked, "Oh, going out as a family? But isn't that her watching from the window? Is she staying home?" So they had reluctantly brought Tara along. But as usual, only Noah received attention while Tara was ignored. After playing alone for a while, Tara had explored the area and found herself at the grave she remembered visiting before. The clever girl remembered the location and had been praying there. "So you two met at the grave?" "Yes. That's when I planted the listening device and followed you here." "Don't play dirty." "Well, look who's talking. The people who pretended to send Tara to the next world and even told her I was dead. They had told Tara that Grandma passed away to prevent us from meeting. What terrible people. Perhaps not expecting me to know so much, they were struck speechless when I hit their weak point. They looked uncomfortable but soon seemed to remember something and approached me. "How dare you eavesdrop on private conversations? We'll sue you." "Go right ahead. Just recording conversations isn't punishable by law. Besides, I did it to protect my precious granddaughter, so there's no problem." When I responded confidently, Penelope, who had been quiet until then, approached Tara. Tara, appearing to fear something would be done to her, shrank back and began trembling. Your treatment of her is clear just from seeing how she reacts to you. Stop making false accusations. I'm really going to call the police. Please do. Though it won't be me who gets arrested, but you too. When I held Tara tightly and glared at them, they suddenly turned pale. When I demanded to know why they had treated her this way, Ed reluctantly spoke up. Girls are useless, aren't they? They'll just marry and leave the family, while boys can inherit the family name. If that's your ridiculous reason, what are those papers on the table? My son tried to hide them with a startled look, but I quickly snatched them before he could. Looking inside, I found they were child insurance policies with marks next to the payout amounts for death or serious disability. They had been after Tara's life insurance money. This is just in case something happens. Before I came into this house, you were planning to send Tara to the next world, weren't you? Actually, there was more to this conversation. They had been laughing about how they would still get money if Tara became disabled, even if their plan failed. I can't leave these children with you. Who knows what you might do next? Penelope, did you call the police? If not, I'll do it. Wait. Mom, calm down. If we get involved with the police, it'll be Tara and Noah who suffer. Are you okay with that? Thinking they didn't understand anything, I held the children's hands and turned to face them. I suggested, let's ask them, and the couple agreed. I don't want Mom and Dad who won't even feed me. I want to stay with Grandma. Hearing this, Ed and Penelope simultaneously snorted. See, Tara isn't lovable. Next, I got down to Noah's eye level and said, tell me anything you're thinking. Noah declared, I hate Mom and Dad too. Because they're mean to Tara. Ed and Penelope looked dumbfounded. It came to light that they had also occasionally given Noah harsh punishments under the guise of discipline. How had they treated these children to make such young ones say they don't want their parents? Actually, when I reunited with Tara at the grave, I had already heard about this. Noah was a kind child who would secretly bring Tara bread whenever their parents punished her by withholding meals. Despite their young age, the siblings had a strong bond, which reassured me. Then it settled. Tara, Noah, let's live together from now on. The children's faces immediately brightened, and they nodded enthusiastically. Wait a minute. What's going to happen to us? First, probably a detention center. After that, maybe a life surrounded by high walls. At any rate, you need to reflect deeply on what you've done. As I took my precious grandchildren's hands and headed for the door, they repeatedly bowed and begged for forgiveness. But they would likely repeat the same behavior. I stopped once and looked Ed and Penelope straight in the eyes. We'll let others judge what you've done. Be prepared. They clung to me crying, but there was no way I would believe them. When they realized they couldn't convince me, they kept telling Tara and Noah to forgive Mom and Dad. When Tara and Noah said, we hate Mom and Dad, don't touch us, they became catatonic. Afterward, I filed a police report and submitted the photo and audio evidence. My son and his wife were asked to come in for questioning, and after it was determined they had been regularly causing their children suffering, they were sentenced to prison time. I decided to formally adopt Tara and Noah. Actually, it was Tara who had quietly unlocked their front door that day. When I asked her at the grave, the clever girl carried out my request perfectly. That's how I was able to rescue them from those evil hands. Since then, Tara has had a healthy appetite, returned to a normal weight, and plays energetically every day. Noah spends each day smiling and having fun with Tara. I've told them both, just let me know if you ever want to see Mom and Dad, but they show no interest at all. I wonder what kind of parenting Ed and Penelope were doing. I've sworn to keep working hard to ensure my grandchildren can always keep smiling.